Okay, so what scene do you guys think was the most pivotal for the book, and how do you think the story would have changed if that scene had not taken place?
So definitely at the end when Bartle dumped Murphy's body in the water in the river, because if he didn't do that, he would go to jail, and then the mother would have found out the truth sooner, and the ending would have taken a different turn.
Yeah, and I think since we saw in the beginning that he had written that letter to Murphy's mom, that was another thing that was pivotal, because then it showed that he was trying to cover up what he did in a way, and trying to do something better so Murphy's mom wouldn't be so upset over his death, but it really just was more harmful than good.
Yeah. What surprised you most about the book?
Definitely the ending.
Yeah, I think the
ending,
endings.
yeah.
And I feel in most of the war books, at least that I've read, a lot of times they have good endings, or they never end up in prison, or at least I don't think the protagonist ever ends up in prison at the end. So I thought that was surprising, because I really wasn't expecting it. I was expecting more of a friendship to emerge through Bartle and Murphy.
Definitely the tragic ending gives a window to horrific war.
Yeah.
It
It kind of gives a taste to reality in a way, because you don't expect, because it's a book, so you don't expect one of the two main characters that you follow to actually die.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of happens. So even though it's a fiction on war, it kind of opens it up to a real life war situation, because anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It shows you how real it is and how horrible it can be for people.
And I remember in the first book talk, we were talking about how we were predicting the rest of the book, and we were oh, Murphy and Bartle are gonna have this really good friendship, and one of them may die, but they'll have a really strong bond, which I feel didn't happen, because I think Bartle was always kind of distancing himself from Murphy in a way, trying to be friendly with him, but at the same time not wanting to form a really good friendship between them.
Do you think there's a reason why he didn't do that? For get super close? Did he?
I feel he was kind of scared to
Get close
to lose someone that he was close to at war. And I also think he didn't want that responsibility put on him of not helping his best friend survive if they were friends.
Yeah.
But
And didn't Murphy become distant too?
Yeah.
He became
he went to at one point when he went when he went MIA, and then he was near the medic center near the girl. I think that showed he was just trying to find a place at war that was more peaceful, because he hadn't seen it said the direct quote, but it said he wanted he wanted the kind passion and stuff that wasn't present while he was actually at combat.
Yeah.
So another one is how does the way the characters see themselves differ from how others see them, and how do you see the various characters? Go ahead.
You can say it.
Okay. I feel at the end, I feel Bartle doesn't really realize what he was doing by putting Murphy in the river. I feel he's not seeing how that's a wrong thing to do.
I think he's maimed by war.
Yeah.
I think his experience in war, he wouldn't have done that before. He would have had more of a sense, but he's traumatized.
And I
probably
feel
part of PTSD.
Yeah, and I feel Sterling kind of pushed him to do it in a way. He was just very persistent that that's what you had to do in order to cover it up.
Yeah.
So I feel he doesn't see that what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
But obviously the reader can see that's a really bad thing to do.
Especially since the mother was expecting
Yeah, he did it to cover up, to hide
the
how
reason to bring it up.
awful it was.
Yeah.
So if you could smack any of the characters upside the head, who would it be and why? I would say Bartle, but then I say almost no, because he was affected, like the actions he did, like I said before, were affected like almost by his PTSD, so it's iffy, but yeah, I definitely would have thrown him in the river, personally.
I think he had good intentions about like
Yeah.
putting the body in the river
Yeah.
to like cover up for the mom so she didn't have to see like how horrific it was. But I think obviously like it wasn't maybe the right thing to do, but he like wanted to do whatever he could to to make it so like the mom didn't like have to see her son like that.
Yeah, like at least get good attention.
Yes.
And like I think that when he like, I like agree that I was gonna like hit him on the back of the head, but like also I feel like seeing how like Murphy was, like it says like on page 205 it says his throat had been cut nearly through, his head hung limply and lolled from side to side, attached only by the barely intact vertebrae. We dragged him like a shot deer out of the woodline, trying but failing to keep his naked body from banging against the hard ground and bouncing in a way that would be forever burned into our memories. His ears were cut off, his nose cut off too. He had been impressively castrated. So I feel like seeing somebody at that state, like you have like a lot of thoughts running through your mind, and like I can't even imagine like seeing somebody like that.
Yeah.
So he probably thought it was like the best thing to do when really like it was harmful.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was just really ignorant, but it's just my opinion.
Yeah, definitely the almost denial from Sterling on 205. It says it was truly not a fall from all that great a height. Broken bones were broken further. No resistance or attempt to land was made. The body had fallen. The boy already dead, and fall itself meaning nothing. So prior they were talking about how the fall probably like killed him, but they knew it wasn't, and they were trying to like Bartle or Sterling were trying to convince themselves. So.
Yeah.
Because I think like they were trying to like figure out how he died, but like then they realized that like
It's like an unsaid type of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was like more so that somebody like had did that to him and then he fell type thing, or they might have like pushed them off the tower, because like obviously his eyes wouldn't be like gouged out if he fell out of a tower. And like they mentioned how like that he couldn't like be killed just from falling, like in that state.
Yeah.
So.
I'm starting to think that maybe they didn't get rid of his body for his mom's sake. I'm thinking more of like, because of what you read, they're trying to like minimize the trauma of the event for themselves.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
very
is
good.
kind of like a selfish thing,
Perspective on it.
but like I can understand why, but they really shouldn't have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of, I don't know.
And like at the end, there was like a part where when Bartle is in jail, he says like he regrets, like because his mom or Murphy's mom like goes and visits him while he's in prison. He says like Bartle tells her that like he regrets doing it because like Murphy's mom didn't get to like choose what to do with the body. Like if someone's like kid died or the parent died, like it's really their decision to like do whatever with the body, and like she didn't have that option, which like I think probably like made her grieve more.
Yes.
In a way.
Definitely a little worse.
Yeah. So just like talking about the ending, do you guys think that the ending was like appropriate, and like how would you have liked to see the ending go?
I thought the ending was definitely shocking, like the way how like depressing it was after Murphy died, and like the body situation, and then how Sterling killed himself because of what he saw, like he couldn't take it, and then how then Bartle went home and then was drinking and then got arrested for the body. So I thought the ending was definitely, I don't know, like I guess, I mean it's obviously, since it's war, you never know what's going to happen, and it's like the characters come home and it's like picture perfect. So I think the ending was definitely like a wake up and like realizing like that war's like real.
No, definitely, I agree. It's having a realistic ending was more beneficial for the readers almost, so they're not getting like a false viewpoint on how war actually is. So that was a good ending. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like how the characters changed by the end of the book. I feel like obviously Bartle changed a lot because he went in to war and like wasn't expecting. He was just being like a soldier, and like I think like we saw how the war like kind of shaped him into like this really like negative person.
Yeah.
Because if he went into war, he probably like at the beginning before he went, he probably never expected that he was gonna like put a body into a river.
Yeah.
So
In like that bad of condition, like
Yeah.
that he saw it. How have any of your views or thoughts changed after reading this book?
I think it opened my eyes to like I knew war was brutal, but the description of Murphy's body opened my eyes to how brutal like war really is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
yeah, because like I feel like whenever I like see like war movies or read the books, it's just like somebody's been shot, which obviously is like really bad. But I've never like read or seen anything where in a war like they really like do something as horrific as what they did to Murphy's body.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just really eye-opening and like scary to like read that like a person can do that to another person.
Yeah, and like the imagery they use to describe like his looks.
Yeah.
And what happened. It's like
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the war books like that I've read personally, I've never like seen an ending like this where like the main character is like going to jail or anything. So I don't know.
Definitely gave it like a twist.
yeah. It was different. Yeah.
Like what do you think will happen like next to the main characters? Like what? I mean, it doesn't describe it, but like what do you think's gonna happen with Arnold now that he's in prison or after he gets out?
I definitely think he's so when he gets out, I think he's gonna his PTSD will definitely like heighten, and the effects will take on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's gonna end up like Sterling and kill himself, but that's definitely a possibility considering what he went through.
Yeah, definitely.
And like at one point when like before he even gets arrested, he has like a scare where he's like almost like drowning in a river.
Yeah.
Like on page 147 it says, "This was my vision as I woke. God damn the noise, the yelling closed in, them yelling get him out, god damn it, get his ass out. I shocked awake and spat up water from the river, and they banged on my chest until I spat up more, and I lay the bank drunk and smiling, looking at the strange faces gathered there." So I think that was like a reality check just for his mom too, to really see like what he's going through his mind, because like obviously it's not visible from the outside, about like what like the trauma that he's experiencing in his head, and like
More internal.
yeah, and then like this was like the one scene where like externally you can see like his struggles and like how he's like actually not taking care of himself after the war.
It's a good point because everything else is shown like the actions he did to like body and like everything else like you can see
Yeah.
like the struggle he's having.
Yeah.
And then like that PTSD like kicked in right after he was home and stuff.
Yeah.
And then are there any books that you guys would compare this one to, and how does this book hold up to them?
I would compare the, well, I wouldn't compare the book, but I would compare like the characters and kind of like that, how terrible war is, to Tim O'Brien, to Bartle, because at the end, after everything has happened in this book, Bartle begins to drink, kind of to cope with like what he's been dealing with and like what he went through, which is kind of the same thing that Tim O'Brien did when he came home from war, and he became like really aggressive and drank all the time. And I think that's just like a common thing that veterans do when they come home like from war, because they drink to like cope with like what they've seen, because sometimes the things that they go through are so like detrimental, and then that they can't compare it, or they can't like
They don't know how to like deal with
it, or like like talk to people, like everyday people who don't go through war, because like they haven't ever seen anything like what they've seen during war. So I think it's those two characters kind of compared, because of like their drinking and like what they went through after war.
Definitely the what was I gonna say? So when they came, you see the PTSD in Tim O'Brien after, as well as Bartles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like too, like in a lot of war books, like they explain their experiences at war and then like the PTSD afterwards. So it's like really similar to a lot of other books that I've read.
There's a common like motif to it.
Yeah.
Like describing the trauma and the PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, did you guys like learn anything or like take away or get out anything with this book?
How like trauma can really change someone's actions and like turn them into someone that they're not.
I feel like that's just like so scary because he was like just like 20. He was only 21. He was just like an average citizen, and then like the whole war like shaped him and like formed him into this person that he wasn't at the beginning.
And then he's gonna live his life and be like,
And then he's going to jail.
Yeah, and then he ends up in jail, which he definitely didn't see himself doing.
Yeah, which is, he definitely shouldn't go to jail either. Well, I mean, obviously he did something wrong, but with like his condition and like what's going on in his head, he definitely shouldn't go to war because it's just gonna get worse. He should obviously get treatment or like have someone to talk to because jail's just gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
it's a good like insight to it.
Do you guys think there was like a reason why Murphy's mom like went to visit him at the end?
It's a closure. Definitely closure, I was gonna say. Yeah, to get some closure.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like that's like really. I feel like that's just good for her to do because I feel like most mothers like wouldn't do that if someone like go visit someone that like did something as bad as
or disposed of the body.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like she never got the chance to decide what to do with the body, so like she wanted the ability to at least know what had happened to it.
Yeah.
She was like seeking, trying to get as much control as she could out of the situation.
Yeah.
Lacking control.
Yeah, and I think that since like in the beginning of the book, how we saw that Murphy had like mentioned to his mom like, oh, this is one of my really good friends, Bartle, and all this stuff. Like I think she liked him from the beginning because he had made that promise to her, which obviously he couldn't keep, and he like kind of beats himself up for not keeping that promise. But I think like she may have visited him because she had liked him in the beginning. She knew that Murphy really liked him as a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, did your guys' opinion of the book change as you read it?
I think, well, yes. At the beginning, I think I started reading it and thought of it as like a typical war story with just like about the characters and stuff. And then as it came, like as I read the ending and saw what happened, I think my opinion changed because I didn't realize, like, it just made war so much more real, like we've been saying, and it just made it so much more like reality.
Yeah.
And you can relate it to yourself because they're both our age. Right?
I was about to say, it's
Like,
18 and 21. So like,
like we're right there.
Yeah. And like Murphy was 18 when he died, which is like so weird because like I feel like everyone, or at least everyone like our age, has like a plan for their future, and that probably wasn't his plan at all. Obviously,
to die.
Yeah.
Probably
I
not.
assume no, yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like that like made me realize a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it just like shows that like life is short and stuff. So I feel like that's just kind of like an overall theme of the book too.
Yeah. Like you can't predict what's gonna happen because you never know.
But yeah.
Enjoy every moment that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's the overarching themes of the book.
Alright, how do you think the war impacted your main character? Well, we had
we kind of like,
too.
I feel like we kind of like brushed over this question, but like,
Yeah.
Quite a bit. We've
Yeah.
really
how like,
secondarily.
yeah, like how in the beginning, obviously he didn't expect it to be as bad as what he experienced, but in the end, it like really negatively impacted him, and he came home with PTSD. So, and then like he saw like one of his good friends like in that like dead. So definitely like,
scarred him, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely like took a toll on his
Yeah.
life.
yeah.